Good morning, everybody. Morning. How are you today? Any problem with your homework or exercise? Have you done? Okay, today we are going to continue our qualification course, and Professor Chien will continue the presentation. That is me.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's good you're energetic again and you are ready to learn. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, there was a long section yesterday. Yeah, I think we all did very well. Okay. So did you work out your research topic before going to bed? Yes or no? No. Okay. Well, keep going. Okay. So today we will continue our second part of qualitative research. And what we are going to talk about today is research strategy and data collection method. Okay? Right, so these are like the beforehand question I like to talk with you. Okay, first, how to decide your research strategy for planning your research. What is research strategy? You probably know about survey, right? Experiment. They are also research strategy. Okay, so strategy is like kind of a methodology framework for you to know how to plan your sequence of research. Okay, so for doing survey, first you need to have theory, and then you need to have your hypothesis, and then you have to develop your questionnaire, and then you can start to collect your data. And then after you collecting your data, then you have to start analyzing them. Okay, so that's the procedure of your research. And if you do survey, you really have to follow this procedure. Okay, and if you do experiment, after your hypothesis, then you have to decide which is experimental group, which is control group, and then you have to start your treatment. And then you compare the result of pre-test and after test. So if you do experiment, that's the procedure you have to follow. If you don't follow this procedure, you don't say your research is experiment study. Okay? And in qualitative, we also have research strategy. Then case study. Have you ever heard about case study? C-A-S-E, case. Yes? Okay, case study. So in qualitative research, that's often the strategy we will use. Because as I said yesterday, when you do qualitative research, you only focus on a very specific situation. So this situation, it could be a human being, it could be just a occurrence. What you see or what happened you see is interesting to research. Okay? Right, so today we will talk about this very important research strategy named case study. And another strategy is named action research. Have you heard about it? Action, A-C-T-I-O-N, action research. Yes? Really? Wow, that's good. Okay, in your language. Okay. So this is also a very useful strategy, especially in the field of education, because often in the field of education we would see some, for example, like teaching problem or like a student's learning problem. And as a teacher, we want to resolve the problem. If you want to that your student learn, or if you want your teaching strategy being effective. So you want to solve our problem in order to get a good result. And action research can be used to help you resolving the problem. And then evaluate the whole process and see if the problem has been resolved. So that's action research. So these are the two main strategies we are going to talk about: case study and action research. Okay? Right. And the second question, how to design your research technique for collecting your research data. Yesterday I mentioned there are 4 main research techniques using in qualitative study. Anyone remember? 4 research techniques commonly used in qualitative research. Who can answer the question? 4. Okay, I'll give you a hint. The first one, you should always use this one, interview. Okay. How about the other 3? Observation, good. And? Research diary, very good. And one more? Document. Wow, you really have lesson yesterday. Very good. Okay, so today we are going to introduce more in detail about how to use these 4 techniques. Okay? Okay, so first, case study. So case study is a methodological approach that incorporates a number of data gathering measures, which means when you use case study as your research strategy, you can often use different research techniques. You can incorporate by using interview, observation, document, research diary, and even questionnaire. Okay, so it depends on what kind of data you want to gather. So it's not limited by only narrative data. You can also include number as your data, like quantitative data. Okay, so for example, if you want to know student study performance, which include like if their grade actually improve, then you can do like a pre-test and after-test by using the same questionnaire in your class. So even though you are doing case study, but the main research technique you use interview and observation to see student study performance. But in order to justify student study performance has really improved, if you can provide also number, it's more convincing, right? Wouldn't it be too much more convincing if you can prove the number? If you can prove the students' grade actually improve from 70 to 80, for example. Or if their preference of this study actually improve from, for example, the average grade from 2.5 to probably 3.5. Okay, so when you use case study, just remember it's not limited by using just narrative data. But whether or not to use narrative data and numbers your data is really up to your research question. Okay? Right, so now there are a few questions we can work out together. First, what can be the investigative case? What can be the case that you can study or you can research? What do you think? What can be the case? Can it be a person? Can can you be a person? Can I be your case? Yeah, why not? If you are interested in knowing who I am, okay? For example, if you are interested in knowing why I'm here doing this lecture to you, then of course I can be your case, okay? And but if you are interested in like your department can be your case as well. Or if you are interested in like one local elementary school, and that school can be your case. Okay? So the case can be human being and it can be a place. It can be an organization. So it's really up to your topic, what you want to research. Okay? So if your case is just a person, it's rather easy. For example, if your case is just like one person, it's me, then you probably just need to interview me, or up to your question, you might also want to observe me, alright? But if your case is one local elementary school, and because how can you gather your information? It has to be through people, through human beings. So you have to gather data from the people working in that local primary school. So if your case is an elementary school, you have to consider who you want to involve as your research subject to gather data. Okay? So if you want to investigate how this elementary define their curriculum, then next thing is who should be my research subject. Then you have to think who would be usually involved in curriculum development. Teacher, right? And I don't know here, but sometimes in Taiwan, the school principal will get involved in curriculum development as well. And in some European countries, parents will get involved in curriculum development as well. But I don't know here in Indonesia. So you have to know who are usually this we call stakeholder of curriculum development. And once you define who are usually getting involved in this curriculum development, they can be your sample population. Okay, so for example, this elementary school, it had one school principal, 20 school teachers. But it's not possible you interview all of them because there will be 21. You can never get your research finished. Okay, so you have to think about, all right, so how many research subjects I need. Definitely because just one school principal, and if he or she is very important, you definitely have to involve him because he represents administration. And I mean also the purpose, the definition of how they want to teach. So definitely you have to involve school principal. But since there are 20 school teachers, so then you have to think, if I just need like 4 teachers, then you can use this quota sampling, yes, I introduced yesterday, right? Or even 6, because usually we divide school teachers from like the lower grade, middle grade, and higher grade. So each grade, you can choose 2 teachers. And then you can also include different gender. So then probably you can just need like 6 school teachers. Okay, and then you get the data from this totally 7 research subjects, 1 school principal, 6 school teachers. Okay, right. So that's the case. So you need to know, if you want to do case study, you need to know who or what or which is my case. And if we just like, if human being are your research case, it's rather easy, okay? But if it's an organization, or if it's a company, or if it's like a sort of like a unit, then you have to think about who can be my research subject for me to gather the data, okay? Right, the second question, what method can be improved? What method can be used? Method is the research technique, that four technique which I work out, okay? What do you think? What do you think? What can help you to decide which technique you can use? What is the central research? Remember, what is the central research? Everything have to stick with this. Remember? Everything have to stick with this. Your research method, your research subject, and even your research technique, research question. It can help you to decide what kind of research technique I should employ or I should use. Okay, so you always have to go back to your research question and see. As I said yesterday, if you want to know the purpose of this curriculum, which research technique you can use? The purpose of this curriculum development, who you can gather the data from. The principal, I mean, he or she get involved, and also the school teacher, okay? And how can you get this answer? If you want to know the purpose, can you observe the purpose? Can you? What would be the best way to know the purpose? Interview, okay? So, for this question, if you want to answer this question, the purpose of curriculum development, then you have to interview your research subject, okay? And if another question is the procedure of implementing curriculum, then which research technique you can use? Observation, then you can actually see how it's working in very kind of detailed way, right? So that's what I say. You have to get back to your research question and think which research technique will be the best to use. Of course, if for the second question, the procedure of implementing curriculum, of course you can choose interview. Can you? Yeah, you can. Teacher can tell you how they are implemented. He or she can tell you. But the problem is what? If you just gather data from your research subject, what could be the problem? Because when we do research, we want to present the truth. So if you just gather data from your research subject, can you get a whole picture of truth? Yes or no? No, because we human beings, we are biased, we are subjective. I will always choose what I want to tell you, right? Yeah. So if you just interview your research subject, they don't necessarily tell you the whole picture or the truth. Yeah. So if you don't observe, you don't know what exactly is going on. So you might get information from old school teacher. Oh, we did very well. We did this and that, and then it's working out very well. But who knows? Who knows, right? So that's actually up to the researcher. For example, like the second research question, the procedure of implementing the curriculum. You can use either observation or interview. But then now you know which is better. Yeah. Okay, so that's the second question. What method can be improved? So it's really up to you as a researcher. Nobody will really force you what you really have to do. But as a researcher, especially you have this methodology training, then you should have this expertise to judge, to decide what is best to be done. Okay? Right, and what can be the focus of investigation? What can be the focus? This is actually a very simple question. What could be a focus? Just you have to look or gather those information related to your research question. Whatever is related to your research question would be the focus. Okay. So yesterday, remember I said qualitative research is very flexible. You can always modify. Okay. So maybe at the beginning, you focus on those situations related to your research question. But at the same time, you might also find out something new and interesting. And then, of course, you can expand your focus. So when you expand your focus, then that's the time you can go back to modify your research question. Okay, so that's why it's a spiral circle. You can always you can gauge the data while rethinking your research question, and just try to work out what is the most central, most important question to investigate. Okay. Right. The final question: in the field of education, what case of interest can be usually improved, and for what purpose the study is conducted in the field of education? Well, there are a lot. Like in the area of education or administration, leadership can be the interest, can be the research interest, and like teaching effectiveness can be as well. Study performance can be as well. Okay, so there are many, like school bullying, or like game teaching, media education. There's